So this is problem 10.4b, and now we've moved on to our notes payable from bonds payable. Notes payable usually due to one creditor, a bank, or another lender, rather than bonds, which are due to a whole bunch of different creditors. Okay, so this one, we've got a 10-year mortgage, gives us all the information on it, and we're supposed to prepare an installment payment schedule for the first 2 years and record the journal entries and all that good stuff. Okay, so when you're setting up a schedule, the easiest thing to do is you just, you start out with the date. Okay, so here's the date. We're going to want to have a column for cash payments, if any. And sometimes there will and sometimes there won't be cash payments. In this problem, we've got semi-annual installment payments. We're going to need a column for our interest expense. Okay? And we're going to need a column for how much of the principal we paid down, so principal reduction. And we'll have a column for the balance. Okay, so that's our little grid. Our balance to start off is we owe $600,000. Okay? And that's at 12/31/15. So then the next thing we know is that we've got 4 interest payments that we're going to do a schedule, and they're 6/30. So we're going to have 6/30/16, and we're going to have 12/31/16, and then 6/30/17. We have another one, and 12/31/17. Okay, so our payments are going to be a set amount. They're going to be that $44,149. So we can just fill all this in. So each time we're going to make the same payment of $44,149. The difference is that part of that payment is going to be interest expense and part is going to be reduction of the principal. How do we figure out which is which? Well, interest expense is 8% per year, but we're making 2 payments each year. So we would multiply the principal balance of $600,000 times the 8%, but then, so that would be $48,000, and then we would divide it by 2 because we're making 2 payments a year. So the first interest expense is $24,000. So if the whole payment was $44,149, and of that payment, 24 was interest, the rest must go to reducing the principal. And so that would be $20,149, whoops, $20,149 goes to reducing the principal. Okay, so now, what's our new principal balance? Well, it's going to be $600,000 minus what we just paid off. So that comes out to $579,851. Okay? So that takes care of the first payment. The second payment on 12/31 was still going to pay the same amount, but now we have a new principal balance. So we're going to take the $579,851, and we can shorten this to just go times 4% because that would just save us a little step there. And so the interest amount on this is going to be $23,194. Okay, so $23,194. And so if the whole payment is for $44,149, this amount is interest, the rest must be going towards the principal. So that would be $29,955. And so then we get our new principal balance, which is now $558,896. Okay, and this is really easy to set up on Excel. I do that in the classroom. I show them how to do this, where you can simply type in you can set up formulas for the first row and copy and paste, and I'll have to figure out if I can do that online. I'm not quite sure I can, but anyway. This schedule is very easily done on Excel using the formulas. Okay, so that's really all they're asking for. I think of the first two payments. I mean, we could keep going with this if we wanted to. So let's, 12, 16. Yeah, so we would, continue this process as we went along. Okay, so let's do the journal entries so far. Our first journal entry is on 12/31/15, we got some cash, and we got 600,000, and we have a mortgage note payable, which I'm just going to shorten to note payable, if you don't mind. Okay, 600,000. Then on 6/30/16, we make the first interest payment. So we're going to have interest expense is going to be part of that. The note payable, or mortgage payable, will be reduced by part of it. And we're going to pay out cash of $44,149. Now this is where we get the information. Here's our interest expense for the first payment of $24,000 and our principal reduction of $20,149. And the two of them together total what we paid out. Okay, then on 12/31/16, we do the same thing. We would have our interest expense, and we can just look over and say, oh yeah, $23,194. The mortgage payable and note payable reduced by $29,555. And we wrote the check for that $44,149. Okay, so they're asking you to prepare a partial balance sheet at 12/31/2017. Oh, so we did have to do those other two. Is that right? Yeah, so we do have to do the other two years. So we can do that. Okay, so we would, do the multiplication here, and we would go the 558 times the 8% divided by 2 would give us the 22,356. 44 minus that would give us 21,793. And we would end up with a new principal balance new principal balance. Oh, of, okay, 558, 537,103. We do the same thing, multiply the 537,103 times 8% divided by 2, and we would end up with 21,484. This minus the 21,484. We paid off 22,665 of the principal. And so we go to 537 previous balance minus what we just paid off, and we end up with 514,438. And this is the number that we're looking for to answer the next part of the question, which is to prepare the partial balance sheet at 12/31/17. Okay, so we would have the current liabilities. Okay, so we would have current liabilities on our balance sheet, and we would have, remember, the current portion of long-term debt, current portion of, I'm abbreviating here, long-term debt, or long-term, note payable. And that would be the payment that's coming due fairly soon, the $44,149. And then we would have our long-term liabilities. And we would just have our long-term note payable of the 514,438. And just in the name of time, I am abbreviating here on a statement. You obviously wouldn't do that. Okay, and I think that takes us through what we need to know for our long-term notes payable.